On today's show, we are reacting to the first mock draft from NFL Network's Peter Schrager, and it certainly is an interesting mock draft that has one quarterback that might not go first round, going number 11 overall. So we'll break down all the picks here from Peter Schrager's mock draft with about a week until the 2023 NFL Draft. And it is worth noting that Schrager's mock, and he's very much in the know, has a lot of sources. He said his mock is based on what he's hearing. So not necessarily what he would do if he was in all these GM shoes, but what he thinks is going to happen, what he's hearing might happen next week. And we're going to have you covered next week. So be sure to subscribe for the best NFL draft coverage here on YouTube. You know, ESPN, they'll go into commercial break, kind of in the later rounds. There's no commercial breaks here at Chat Sports. So if you want the best NFL draft coverage, subscribe to the channel, and it's 100% free. We're going to have a lot of fun next week. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. Go and subscribe to the channel right now and join us next week for the draft. Let's get into Schrader's mock. No surprise. Number 1 overall, it is the Alabama quarterback, Bryce Young. He is going to the Carolina Panthers, and most analysts and experts are saying this is pretty much locked in, that Bryce Young is going to be the number 1 overall pick. At first, I kind of thought that was noise. It's too much noise now for me not to believe it, that Bryce Young is going to be the number 1 overall pick next week. Now, what are the Texans going to do at number 2? Schrager's saying they're going to trade down with their division rival Colts, with the Colts acquiring the first-round pick in this, I should say the number 2 overall pick, first-round pick in this year's draft. The Texans get the number 4 overall pick. So they trade down 2 spots and get DeForest Buckner, who I'm sure D'Amico Ryans would love, or a second and third round pick. So we'll see, but I'd be a little bit surprised if the Texans traded with their arch rival Indianapolis Colts and let them take their franchise quarterback, who Schrager believes it's going to be C.J. Stroud, the quarterback from Ohio State. Now, if I'm Nick Caserio, there's no way I'm trading down with the Colts. I'm just going to take C.J. Stroud too. But we've heard a lot about the Texans not being sold on a quarterback outside of Young. They might trade down. They might not take a quarterback. It is going to be fascinating, and maybe even the story of the draft to see what the Texans are going to do next week at number 2 overall. I do believe, and I agree with Peter Schrager, that Will Anderson is going to be the first non-quarterback off the board. The edge rusher from Alabama mocked here to the Cardinals at number 3. Texans, they trade down according to Schrager. They take Tyree Wilson, probably the second best defensive player, maybe third behind Anderson and Carter. But he has them taking Tyree Wilson here. So staying in the state of Texas, going from Texas Tech to Houston. Number 5 overall, the Seahawks take a quarterback. They just gave Geno that big contract. But Schrager's saying they're going to take Anthony Richardson, number 5 overall, which would certainly be one of the big shockers of the draft. Should the Seahawks draft a quarterback? Obviously, they paid Geno, but that contract is somewhat flexible after this year, so maybe see how Geno does this year. If he's not your franchise guy going forward, you have Anthony Richardson. Type Y for yes or type in for no down in the comments section. Should the Seahawks draft a quarterback? Jalen Carter, here he is, going number 6 overall to the Detroit Lions. And there's been a lot of talk about where's Carter going to go. And a couple weeks ago, it was like, man, could he fall, late first round? I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think he's going to be a top 10 pick. Schrager has him going number 6 overall. Peter Skoronski's been mocked to the Bears a lot, but Schrager has him going number 7 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders could do a lot of different things here. They go O-line, they go corner, maybe Witherspoon. They certainly could go with a quarterback as well, but Schrager has them going with Skoronski, the offensive lineman out of Northwestern. Nolan Smith, his stock has risen significantly since he won the NFL Combine, probably our biggest winner from the Combine. Number 8 overall, staying in the state of Georgia, the Georgia Bulldog, mocked here to the Atlanta Falcons. Christian Gonzalez, probably CB2 for me, but he's the first corner off the board here in Schrager's mock draft out of Oregon going to the Chicago Bears. The Bears adding to that defense. Number 10 overall, it is Bijan Robinson. He has been linked a lot to Philly. They lost Miles Sanders in free agency. They could use a running back. Bijan to Philly would be a lot of fun. This is wild. Hendon Hooker, number 11 overall here in Schrager's mock draft, going to the Tennessee Titans. So the Titans opt to not go with Will Levis here at quarterback and go with Hooker instead, staying in the Volunteer State. This would be wild. And some people might say this is a reach because Hendon Hooker's possibility he's not even going to go in round one. I would like this pick from Tennessee. Hendon Hooker's QB3 for me. He's, at least for me, I feel much better about him than I do Will Levis, who Schrager has mocked to the Houston Texans. And look, Levis has the tools to be good, but he was just a little bit too inconsistent for me this past season at Kentucky. And the Texans here, according to Schrager, again, traded down. They took Tyree Wilson at 4. They get a quarterback, though, at 12, taking Will Levis out of Kentucky. Who is the better quarterback prospect? Both of these guys hailing from the SEC East. Type H for Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee, or type L for Will Levis, the Kentucky product. Let me know down in the comment section. It is the pinned comment on today's video. So an ad break comes, go down, chime in. Tell me who is the better quarterback prospect. Broderick Jones, one of my favorite prospects in this entire class. Unbelievable talent on the offensive line. Had a great career at Georgia. He is mocked here to the New York Jets. It's going to be interesting to see what the Jets do O-line-wise this draft. Devin Witherspoon, this would be one of the biggest steals of the draft, falling to number 14 overall here to the New England Patriots. They brought back John Jones in free agency. Now they're apparently going to bring in Devin Witherspoon, according to Peter Schrager. Number 15 overall, Jackson Smith-Njigba, the wide receiver from Ohio State. Look, even if Aaron Rodgers leaves, you want whoever's going to be your quarterback, and all likely it's going to be Jordan Love, to have good talent around him, to have weapons around him. You want Jordan Love to be in the best possible position to succeed. That's why I like the Packers taking JSN here. Dalton Kincaid, meanwhile, the first tight end off the board out of Utah, selected by the Washington Commanders in Schrager's mock draft. And if you didn't know, we actually launched a NFL draft channel here at Chat Sports, exclusively NFL draft content. The link is below if y'all want to subscribe. YouTube.com/chatNFL, your one-stop shop for all NFL mock drafts, draft news, draft rumors leading up to next week's NFL draft. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/chatNFL. That link is in the comments and the description of today's video. So go and subscribe to our NFL draft channel. Paris Johnson, number 17 overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Kenny Pickett was sacked a lot this past year. The Steelers have got to do something with the offensive line. I think they should draft an offensive lineman, number 17. Joey Porter Jr., really like this guy at Penn State. He is mocked here to the Detroit Lions at number 18 overall. Lions have 2 first-round picks. They use the second on Joey Porter Jr. in Schrager's mock draft. Deonte Banks out of Maryland, another corner off the board here, going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then Lucas Van Ness, the edge rusher out of Iowa. I've seen mocks that have him going inside the top 10. Here he is falling number 20 to Seattle, who they, much like the Lions, also have 2 first-round picks. They use their second one on Van Ness here in this mock draft. Michael Mayer going number 21 overall to the Chargers. The Chargers need a tight end. I thought Dalton Schultz was L.A. bound. He ends up going to Houston, so maybe they'll address tight end in the draft, taking the Notre Dame product, Mayer. Darnell Wright, really big fan of this guy. Did a great job protecting Hendon Hooker at Tennessee. He goes to Baltimore here, number 22 overall. If that happens, the question would be, what quarterback is he going to be protecting next season? Jordan Addison, the wide receiver out of USC, falling to number 23 here, pairing up with Justin Jefferson. That would be a lot of fun, seeing those two in Minnesota's offense. And then Brian Branch, the defensive back out of Alabama, number 24 overall to Jacksonville. Jacksonville adding to that defense over there in Duval. Zay Flowers, the wide receiver from Boston College, going number 25 to the Giants here in Schrager's mock draft. The Giants could use another wide receiver. They've been linked to Hopkins. They've also been linked to Flowers. And it is going to be fascinating to see where Zay Flowers goes. I remember a few weeks ago before the Combine, it was kind of just universally thought that he was going to be an early to mid-second round pick. Now it's looking more and more like he's going to be a first-round selection. Mel Kiper has him as his 10th overall prospect. You have Patrick Mahomes, though, saying that he wants to work out with them. Those two worked out in Texas earlier this week. So could he go 31 to the Chiefs, or could he go, mid to middle of first round? I'm not really sure. I could see a scenario where Zay Flowers goes number 12 overall, or I could see him maybe going late first round to the Chiefs. We'll see what happens. It is going to be fascinating to see where the Boston College wide receiver ends up. Who's going to draft Zay Flowers? Go down in the comments section. Let me know who is going to take Zay Flowers. The Giants certainly would be a good fit for the BC product. Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama, going number 26 overall here to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Gibbs is a guy that I've seen, going middle of the second round in most mocks. So you could certainly make the argument this is a little bit of a reach from Dallas, but they've also been kind of linked to a lot of running backs, number 26. Myles Murphy, meanwhile, the edge rusher out of Clemson, number 27 to the Buffalo Bills. And then Darnell Washington. Talk about a guy that really rose his stock at the NFL Combine in February. The tight end out of Georgia, number 28 overall to the Cincinnati Bengals. That offense, man, would be insane if they could add Darnell Washington in this draft. Speaking of offense, Jonathan Mingo, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss, going to the New Orleans Saints. They already have a lot of wide receivers. They had another one in Jonathan Mingo. And then Will McDonald, the fourth, the edge rusher out of Iowa State, number 30 overall to the Eagles. The Eagles, one of a few teams to have 2 first-round picks this year. And then Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver out of TCU, number 31 overall to the Kansas City Chiefs. Johnston to the Chiefs, man, that would be scary for the league. Some of the top prospects not included in Schrager's mock draft, which only featured the first round. Kalijah Cansey, the defensive tackle out of Pitt. Emmanuel Forbes, the corner out of Mississippi State. Brian Breesy could go first, maybe not. Defensive tackle out of Clemson. Jalen Hyatt, really like him. Drew Sanders, Osiris Torrance, Anton Harrison, Keely Ringo, B.J. Ojulari, and then Mozzie Smith out of Michigan.